Hey Rams, today's video is over equivalent fractions and decimals. And our standard here says generate equivalent forms of fractions, decimals, and percents, including real-world problems, including problems that involve money. But today we're going to focus on the fractions and decimals. And by generate, that means you are creating your own equivalent value, okay? All right, so we're going to start with changing a decimal to a fraction. And you kind of know this a little bit from elementary already, okay? So your first step is going to be read the number using the place value. Okay, and I will show you an example. Okay, so if we have a decimal here, okay, how do I write 0.36 as a decimal? What's my place value? So my place value chart here, I have the 10,000s and thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones. But past this decimal, what is this first place called? That is the tenths. And this is the hundredths. So what we're looking at right here is I look at the last place that I have a number, and that place right there tells me what this place value is going to be. So this would say 36 hundredths. Okay, so 36 hundredths. So we read it using place value. This 0.36 says 36 hundredths. We're going to write it as a fraction just like it sounds. Okay, so just like it sounds. So when I say 36 hundredths, that would mean 36 over 100. Man, that was pretty easy, right? But now the last thing we always do to our fraction is simplify it. And that was page 7 in your notes. Okay, simplify your fraction. So that means that I'm going to figure out what can I divide both of these by. Yes, they're both even, so I could divide by 2. But I'm going to go ahead and go a little bit more. I'm going to divide them both by 4. Because I know that 36 divided by 4 is 9. And 100 divided by 4. Think about $1 divided by 4. You're going to have 25 cents, right? So 100 divided by 4 is 25. So when I simplify that, it's 9/25. That's all you have to do. Okay, so we're going to go right down here. This is 0.08. Now, one other thing that could be a little bit of a hint for you, I have always taught students to draw a line under here. And wherever you see that decimal, put a 1 below it, and then put a 0 under each of the other digits after that decimal. There are 2 digits after the decimal, so I'd have 2 zeros here. So that becomes 8/100ths. What? And now we simplify. I'm going to divide both of those again by 4. And I would get 2/25. That's pretty great, right? We can use that same strategy right here. Okay, I'm going to put a 1 under that decimal. Okay, I'm going to draw a little arrow, make a 1. And then this has 3 digits, so I'm going to put 3 decimals. This is the tenths, hundredths, thousandths place. And look at this. That says 642 1,000ths. Now, your job is to now simplify it. Okay, it's even. So I know that I could divide by 2 if I don't know what else there is. And that's okay. So 642 divided by 2 will be 321. And you could pause your video and go over here to the side. I don't want the video to be too long for you. Okay. 321 over 500. Okay. So do you know of anything else that can go into those? It's not even. Do you know your divisibility rules for 3? So you add up all your numbers here. 3 plus 1, 2 plus 1. That's going to be 6. So that means this top number is divisible by 3, but 500 is not. Okay? It's not even, so 4 can't go into it. It doesn't end in a 5 or a 0. A 5 or a 0, so it's not 5. To be divisible by 6, it means it must be divisible by 2 and 3. So this was divisible by, the top number would be divisible by 3, but not 2. Okay? So I'm going to say we're probably not going to be able to simplify that. Okay? Right down here. It's the same thing. I'm going to let you do these last two, but remember, there's a 1 in front of it. So when you get your mixed number, when you simplify your fraction, don't forget that the 1 goes in front, okay? Now, I'm going to show you with this example right here. When you enter this, because you're going to be entering this answer, okay? When you look at it, this 2 over 25 would be 2/25, just like in your division representation. That's how you would show a fraction. Now, if it was a mixed number, you put another number over here and put a space, okay? So you're going to make both of these into fractions, okay? Now, it is very important that you are answering these or you do not get credit for this assignment, okay? Why is it important to know place value? So you're going to need to know that. Look, this place value chart, that gives you a big hint. Why is it important to know the place value? What place this is right here, okay? Oh, this one's a really good one. What is the difference between 0.5 and 0.05? I'll tell you, there is a difference, okay? There is a difference. They are not the same value. You could think of it like money, or you could go ahead and give them a fraction with a denominator, okay? Page 12. All right, now this one, we're going to change our fractions to decimals, and there are two different strategies. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to write down the factors of 100. That means all the numbers that will multiply and go into 100, okay? So I'm going to say 1 and 100. 1 times 100. 2 times 50. 3 does not, so 4 times 25. And 5 times 20. And then 10 times 10. These are all the factors of 100, okay? Now, the reason we have those on there is because they're going to come in so handy right here, okay? So there are two strategies for changing a fraction to a decimal. This is strategy number 1. It is your equivalent fractions. So what this means is that I'm going to make an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 10 or 100. You could go to 1,000, but man, that gets really a lot more challenging, okay? So we can go with tenths here. And the reason we're using 10 or 100 is because that's what your place value is. You have a tenths place, okay? So 3/5 equals how many tenths? Well, 5 times 2 is 10. So 3 times 2 is 6. And how could I write 6/10 as a decimal? 0.6. So look at that. This number equals this number. Now, your other strategy for that same problem, this 3/5, is division. Remember what we learned last week about simplifying your improper fraction? We used the term top dog. We're going to do the same thing. That top number goes in the house, okay? This is a division problem, 3 divided by 5. And if you're having trouble remembering that, then just remember the top dog goes in the house. It's not always the biggest, but it might be that little yapping chihuahua. 3 divided by 5. Okay, 5 does not go into 3. So I'm going to add a decimal and a 0. So it goes into 0 times, right? So now 5 goes into 30. This is what we do. If 5 doesn't go into 3, we can keep dividing. Our number is not over. 3 is the same thing as 3.0. So 5 goes into 30 6 times. 5 times 6 is 30. And I have no remainder. Okay, so wherever I have a decimal here, I put it straight up above it in the problem, okay? Look at that. 3/5 is the same as 0.6 or 6/10. Okay, I want you to, well, actually, I'll let you do the next ones. I'll do this one. 6 over 25. We're going to go to 100. Okay, this time, 25 doesn't go into 10, but it goes into 100. This strategy right here only works when your denominator is going to go into 10 or 100 or 1,000, this equivalent fractions, okay? So it's not always the best. Sometimes it's an easy one when you have nice numbers, okay? 25 goes into 100 4 times. So whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So 6 times 4 is 24. 24 100ths as a decimal is 0.24. Okay? Now, same thing over here when you're doing division. Now, this strategy will only work sometimes. Your division strategy works all the time. I'm going to write this down here. Okay? It works all the time. Now, 6 divided by 25. It's top dog here, right? 6 divided by 25. I am so sorry about the little space here. Okay, 25 does not go into 6, does it? Goes in there 0 times, so I can add a decimal, and then I can put a 0 because 6 is the same thing as 6.0. Oh, sorry, my lights turned off. 25 goes into 60 2 times. So 2 times 25 is 50. When you are dividing with a decimal, and I know we haven't really done this in class yet, you can just keep going and add zeros here as you need, okay? I'm going to get a remainder of 10. We're not done. In 6th grade, we no longer just use remainder as our answer. We have to do something with it, okay? So now we're going to add a 0 here, and we're going to keep bringing it down and keep going. Now, will 25 go into 100? Yeah, 4 times. And that 4 has to go above the last digit of that 100. So 25 times 4 is 100. There we go, 0.24, okay? Okay, so I want you answering these. This is how you're going to get credit, okay? You have to have this done. When does the equivalent fraction strategy work? When is that strategy going to work? This strategy right here. Okay, I've said it now several times. When is that strategy going to work? You write it right here, okay? When does your division strategy work? Oh, there's a hint right there. I don't know where I would find the answer to this. Okay. Why is it important to know the benchmark fractions and decimals? And we haven't talked about that yet. But the benchmark ones are like that 1/2 equals 5/10, or that 1/4 equals 0.25. And the reason these are important, and you're going to need to write it here, is knowing this will help you know if your answer is reasonable. 3 is more than half of 5. So 6/10 is going to be more than 1/2 also. It just helps you check and see if your answer is reasonable or if it's correct, okay? Now you are going to put all of these as decimals. You're going to do this work right here, okay? And you're going to answer the questions. And then you are going to do this summary. If you do not have a summary that tells me what you learned and you're just saying, I know it all, or I learned the math, I will count it wrong and you will not get credit for this assignment, okay? Tell me what you really learned, okay? Summarize it here.